Hey guys, welcome back to the compound. In this video, I'll be revisiting one of my favorite Spinosaurus designs, and that's the Camo Xtreme Spinosaurus. Now, I don't own this vintage figure, so I grabbed some reference photos off eBay. That way you can screen grab them if you want to use them for reference if you're planning on tackling this repaint. Now, I did this repaint several years ago, but I wanted to do it again, except take it to the next level using upgraded parts from Marco Makes in Surrey Tech. So just to save on some time, I've already got the figure base coated in transparent burnt umber ink, and I'm going to briefly run over the parts that I swapped out. So for the first part, it's the longer replacement tail. You can see here how short and stubby the original was. The second parts are the smaller, more proportionate feet, and the last but most important upgrade part is the totally awesome JP3 Spinosaurus head loaded with sharp teeth and a ton of detail. This head also has clear acrylic eyes that can pop in, giving it that extra level of realism. So for right now, I'm going to keep the head separate from the body because I'm going to paint the inside of the mouth and everything later on in the video. But right now, we're going to go ahead and focus on getting the body painted, starting off with a heavy dry brushing of umber and orange to create an under highlight. So with that first pass of highlighting, I'll be going in with a heavy-handed dry brushing, making sure to hit all of the raised areas and leaving that transparent burnt umber down in the cracks. Next, I'll go over it with a coat of transparent light brown, and you can see the difference here that happens when that glaze goes over the lighter dry brushing. This coat will sort of blend everything together and change the hue of the under highlighting that we did without affecting the burnt umber base coat underneath. So now that I have the body painted, I'm going to go ahead and give it a couple of coats of matte varnish and then set it aside, and I'm going to focus on painting the head next. So starting with the inside of the mouth, it's business as usual. I'll start with some barbarian flesh and very carefully paint the gum line, and then I'll go in with some off-white and hit all of the teeth with a couple of thin coats. So the inside of the mouth is finished and looking really good. Now I'm going to go ahead and give everything another coat of matte varnish to lock that layer of paint in, and then once that's dry, I'll go over the teeth with a coat of brush-on super glue just to add an extra shell of protection on the teeth so the paint doesn't scrape off while I'm opening and closing the jaws. So now that the inside of the mouth is finished and squared away, we can go ahead and start to focus on painting the head. And I've got it clamped to a third arm here so I don't have to worry about holding it. I highly recommend grabbing one of these off of Amazon. They really come in handy for stuff like this. I'll be sure to link it down in the description box below. So going in with matte black, I'll just carefully color the entire head in black and carefully cut around the teeth. And once that's done, we're going to go ahead and start to lay down the blue deco on the face. Now this is the most time consuming part since the blue paint apps will require several coats to get even coverage. I'm also applying it pretty thin so as not to clog the details in the sculpt. So it's going to go down fairly transparent, but multiple thin coats is what you want to do to make sure your paint job doesn't come out streaky. And once the blue deco is finished, I'll be sure to give both parts another coat of matte varnish just to really ensure that paint is locked in. And then I'll pop the eyes into the sockets, and this head is done and ready to get glued on to the body. Next up, we're going to tackle painting the sail. I'm going to mask off the body with some silly putty just to prevent any overspray since I'll be spraying the sail blue with my airbrush. And to give you an idea of the pattern, I'll bring in an image of the vintage sail here so you can kind of see what it looks like. It's a pretty simple design, so really all we got to do is just copy the patterns from the vintage sail, starting off by laying down the black strip along the top of the sail, and then I'll add the second thinner strip below, and then finally filling in the black on each spine and creating that pointed blue stripe design that it has. And once you get that general pattern down, you can go back in and sort of tweak and tighten everything up. Next up is the underside, which is kind of a light tan color, and I'll be using a mix of apple barrel paints to get a tone that will work for that. I'll be using my airbrush for this, and I'm going to have to thin these paints down considerably since apple barrel is really thick and it needs to be very thin to shoot through an airbrush. Once I get a good consistency going, I'll just go ahead and lay down a couple of thin coats and fade it up into the body. With the underside done, now it's time to go in and grind out the black patterns on the body. I've got some black paint in a palette thinned with a little water to help with flow, and just using the reference material, I'll go in and start to lay down the patterns. The last thing to do is paint all of the claws black, and then I'll lay down a couple of coats of matte varnish just to really lock that paint in. And just like that, we have another cool repaint in the books. So I hope you guys enjoyed this repaint video and it has inspired you in some way, shape, or form. If you do this or any repaint or artwork, be sure to tag me over on Instagram at The Jurassic Junkie, because I'd love to see what you guys come up with. Stay tuned to the end of the video where I'll be featuring repaints and artwork of the Camo Xtreme Spino done by various artists in the Jurassic community. In the meantime, if you need more Jurassic related content, you know where to find it. Links will be in the description box below. You guys take care, and I'll see you around the compound.